Oh my God, that's a little scary. What is up, guys? 70 Savage here. You might have seen the last couple videos where we won this on an auction on bringatrailer.com, and then we flew out to go pick it up.
3, 2,
Oh,
1.
you gave it.
Sold!
Oh, we got it!
Sold!
We're doing the official handover, and thank you, Laura, for the keys.
Thank you so much. Enjoy it.
Let's go, dude. This thing is insane. In this video, we're going to be doing a recap and follow up on why I think van life has changed from vans like this Sprinter van. We're going to cover the overview of why my plans have changed and where they're going with this new van in particular. And then we're going to do something really exciting. We're going to take it off-roading. I'm going to show you guys what it's like. So in the last Van Life Has Changed video, I made a claim about the triangle of dependencies on how to find a great camp spot. In that triangle, you can pick two of the three things. You have good camping, you have no people, and you have easy to get to. And some of y'all out there might pick differently, but I think a lot of us are really aiming for that ultimate van life experience that has a great campsite location with little to no people around. And in this day and age, that means you need to go out farther to harder to get to places. And that's why we need a van like this. I want to talk a little bit about the change of plans that we've had. You guys might have seen a few weeks ago that we actually acquired this 2007 E350. And now we have another E350, and it's been a few weeks since we won the auction. The official plan is that we are going to sell this van. I have it listed on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, and we are going to keep this one. Now, I did promise you guys in the last video, and I do want to give you guys a little mini van tour / overview of our brand new van. So overall, it is a 2013 Ford E350 with a V10 engine and a short body and short wheelbase. I'll put links to all of the aftermarket off-road parts in the video description below. So the four-wheel drive conversion that Sportsmobile did on these vans is insanely beefy and insanely off-road capable. Overall, we have about a 6-inch lift. We've got a little bit more than 22 inches of ground clearance. And one of the absolute coolest things about the Sportsmobile four-wheel drive system is actually the transfer case. We've got a dedicated front axle shifter and a dedicated rear axle shifter. So if you just want your car in a normal rear-wheel drive high situation for like normal highway driving and stuff like that, you put the front axle into neutral and you put the rear axle into high gear. And then if you want to do some light off-roading, you can put it into four-wheel drive high by basically taking the front axle and also putting it into high gear. But the really cool thing, and I'm going to show you guys this when we go off-roading, is that we have what's called front digs. Since we have two independent shifters here, we can actually put our rear into neutral, we can put our front into either high or low, and we can pivot the van by just engaging the front wheels and turning on the e-brake. Two cool features that this Sportsmobile four-wheel drive kit actually came with is an ARB compressor, which I believe is somewhere under the front hood. I actually haven't been able to find it yet. And that allows us to activate a front locker. Unfortunately, it doesn't have an ARB rear locker, which would be really cool. And aside from the four-wheel drive system itself, this van came with a ton of accessories, like this body armor around it. This one right here is an aluminous front bumper. These rock sliders on the sides here, yes, they are real rock sliders. And what I mean by real rock sliders is that these are engineered to actually take the entire weight of the vehicle if it comes falling down on top of a boulder as you're crawling over it. When you open the door, the step actually slides down, makes it easy to get in and out of. But at the same time, you close the door, and if they were working properly, which they're not, I do need to fix them, this step actually pops all the way back up and conceals itself so that you have a completely flat rock slider with maximum ground clearance. We've got the 35-inch Mickey Thompson Baja off-road tires, which so far have proved very capable. We have an aluminous swing out rear bumper here that allows you to basically press this button. You can swing these bad boys out and it allows you to get access to opening the rear doors. We have literally nothing inside of here. It is just a bare cargo area with a thin rubber floor mat that I'm gonna end up ripping out. But that gives us a completely clean slate and we're gonna build a badass camper in this thing. And with that, that covers the pre-van tour, everything that this van has on it right now. I do want to cover some of the questions and comments that we got on why this thing is more off-road capable than something like this. This is the most recent conversion van that we've done on the channel. It is a Mercedes Sprinter van, a 2020 model year. It's the 170-inch wheelbase Sprinter van, and I've put aftermarket suspension on it, which has a bit of a lift. I've put bigger tires, and a lot of y'all had questions or concerns with the idea, like, you've put so much money into the off-road capability of this van. Why do you need something like this? Is this even any more off-road capable? And the simple answer to that is that yes, this E350 in its current form is way more off-road capable than a van like this. There are some major limitations when it comes to just physics. Number one reason is simply the length of the wheelbase on a Sprinter van. Now, I do have the 170-inch wheelbase Sprinter van, which is a lot longer than the 144-inch wheelbase Sprinter vans. Those are the short ones that you see frequently on the road, like the Winnebago Revel or the Storyteller. And the wheelbase on the E350 is 138 inches. You want to have as short of a wheelbase as possible when you're off-roading, because that basically makes it so that you can high center or get stuck on a obstacle in the middle of your van a lot less easily. Reason number two, this is so much more off-road capable is, as you can see, this is a high roof van and this is not. That makes the center of gravity a lot lower in the E350. These high roof Sprinters, even with like $10,000 aftermarket suspension kits, still feel very tippy off-road with slight inclines. If there's an off-camber turn, or if you just have to go on a stretch of an off-roading trail that's slanted to the side, this thing feels very scary. And the other thing about having a shorter van is that a lot of the trails, especially around here in Tahoe, are like meant for Jeeps. There's either tree branches or fallen trees that have come down that only allow you to go through them if you have a short vehicle. That has stopped me from progressing on the trails that I want to go camping on so many times in this high roof van. So although we have a shorter van and we have to deal with not being able to stand up inside, which is a huge drawback, by the way, I'm not trying to minimize that at all. We will, however, be able to get to the places that we want to go. That does raise the question a lot of you guys have had, am I going to do a pop top on this conversion? The jury is still out. We may do a pop top, we may not. They're incredibly expensive. And then the last advantage that the E350 has over the Sprinter van when it comes to off-roading is just what I told you guys already, which is just a higher lift and bigger tires. Even having I think I have a 3-inch lift and I have the biggest possible tires that you can put on a Sprinter van without doing massive changes. This thing has way less ground clearance and way less roll over big boulder ability than the E350 does. To put it in perspective, guys, we're sitting at 14 inches of ground clearance to the bottom of the steps there, and then about 16.5 inches of clearance to the back of these steps. If I had to try and put it in perspective in the difference of off-road capability in these two vans, this Sprinter is kind of like the stock base model lowest end Toyota Tacoma or 4Runner. Honestly, maybe even a little bit less than that, maybe like a Toyota Highlander. And the E350 is like more capable than the highest end TRD Pro Tacoma 4Runners, more capable than any vehicle Toyota offers from the dealership floor. So now we're going to be taking this E350 to one of my all-time favorite camping and fishing spots. I was actually able to get the Sprinter van to this spot last summer after about a day of trail maintenance where I had to cut low-hanging branches and fill in ruts so that this thing could get there. And unfortunately, when I went to that exact same trail this year with the Sprinter van, there was way deeper ruts and there was so many fallen trees that I just wasn't able to get there. So we're going to take the new E350 on the trail to my secret honey hole and see if we can actually make it. Okay, so we're at the entrance to the trail that takes us to this lake. Sad part about these old school four-wheel drive systems is you do have to actually get out of the car, and we have to come here and we have to turn our hubs to the lock position. And at this point, I should honestly really be airing down my tires, but I'm either blind or there's no port attached to my air compressor. I couldn't find one anywhere to attach a hose to so that I could reinflate my tires later when we're done with this. So we're actually going to do this whole trail today with fully inflated tires. And since we're still on the easy part of the trail here, I'm going to start out by putting it into four-wheel drive high. First thing we got to do here is put it into neutral. We could take our front axle and put that into high. We're officially in four-wheel drive. There are some campsites at the bottom of our trail here, but what a lot of people don't know is that you have to go to a secret special road off the side of these easy to get to camp spots to get to the honey hole. This is our turn right here. Before we start heading up the steep trail, I'm actually going to put it in four-wheel low. We will start with the rear. So this can be really finicky. Sometimes it's incredibly hard. It takes a ton of force to shift this thing. And I don't know if I'm breaking it or doing something wrong. I think you kind of have to be on like a flat surface and kind of roll around before you put it back into neutral a little bit. But okay, let's get it into low. Rear is in low. Front is in low, I think. Put it back into drive. All right. Oh yeah, that feels like a low gear. One advantage to these four-wheel drive systems is that the low gear is like actually a really low ratio. So it lets you crawl at a really low speed. The Sprinter vans do technically give you a low gear, but it's not nearly as low of a low gear as like a real four-wheel drive system. We're starting our crawl up this hill here. And to be honest, my Sprinter got up this part pretty easily, so I'm not going to get out of the car and start filming until it gets a little bit harder. We are still right at the start of the trail, and this first tiny little obstacle here, my Sprinter made it over this last time, but to be honest, it's a little bit nerve-wracking in the Sprinter because, like I mentioned before, the long wheelbase makes these little dips scary because your front tires here, your back tires all the way over there, makes it really easy to bottom out in the center of the vehicle. Let's go ahead and try it in this van and see how close we get to bottoming out. Initial experience going over that first little tiny obstacle, you could barely even call it that. It literally felt like nothing in this van. Just went right over it. This tree right here, with the height of the Sprinter van, I would have to scrape on one side or the other here because it's so tall. This van, on the other hand, just goes right under. Also, I want to show you guys something by pulling up on the side of this trail right here, which I could never do in the Sprinter van. That would be way too tippy. So this probably looks like nothing to some of you off-roaders out there. It's more in real life than it is on camera for some reason. If I drove the Sprinter van like this, I'm like 75% sure it would legitimately tip over. I would never even consider taking the Sprinter on a slope like this. And I remember it vividly from last time because I had to let somebody else pass and I was considering going up there. It still feels fairly tippy in this van, to be honest. Like when I opened the door, it like came out really hard, but it didn't feel super sketch. Like I don't feel like I'm really close to that limit of tipping over yet. So the next thing I'm noticing is that I'm not really having to think about like picking a line as much as I do on this particular trail. Even with like small to medium sized boulders that are embedded in the trail, I have to be kind of strategic with how I roll over those in the Sprinter van. And in this thing, I'm just like, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just rolling over everything at this point. Another quick example of branches that are hanging over the trail and out from the sides of the trail that the Sprinter would 100% run into. I would have to pull my saw out, and it cut at least a couple of these. Okay, it does look like the Forest Service has done some maintenance on this trail since I failed to pass through it with the Sprinter van. Like, these used to be big ruts here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's actually snowing, which is incredibly random because I don't think it's snowed yet this year. All right, and that was actually quicker than I thought, but we've made it to the lake on a strangely snowy day in the middle of September. Unfortunately slash fortunately, they did a ton of maintenance on this trail, so I'm pretty sure I could have got the Sprinter up here just with a few cutting of trees on the way. Okay, so let's do a quick simulation. If I wanted to, let's say, drive through here and go camp on the side of the lake, I have to make it over this set of boulders. That one is about 12 inches, maybe a little bit more, 13 inches or so. So we made it over that very easily, and I just went over this boulder and I just sent it directly into my leaf spring. So hopefully we didn't mess anything up. I'm gonna see if I can reverse back over it. By the way, guys, if that happened to Sprinter van, we'd be toast. Okay, well, we massively displaced that boulder, and I don't think we did any damage. I was a little crazy, to be honest. I wasn't necessarily anticipating on doing that. It's absolutely crazy, in my opinion, to have front digs, is what this feature is called, in a freaking van. We want to turn the van very sharp so that we can make it back through here and make it out to our peninsula. Well, I could do a 10-point turn. We're gonna use the front digs. We are going to leave our front in low, but we're gonna put our rear into neutral. It's like two-wheel drive, but front-wheel drive. We're gonna take our e-brake and activate the e-brake. E-brakes only lock the rear wheels. Now we have our wheel turned to the right. We're gonna put it back in drive. And if we just stomp on the gas, okay, it rotated us a little bit and it flung a ton of mud, but I think it actually dug the front into the ground. I'm not super experienced at using this. I don't know how to get like a full pivot out of it, but we did turn, I don't know, maybe 5 degrees or so. Pretty freaking cool. Let's see if we could turn a little bit more by getting unstuck here. That was so freaking cool, guys. Hopefully that looked cool on camera too. On the inside, it felt a little crazy. Let's go ahead and see if we can make it all the way to the tip of that peninsula. I just got started traversing this beach here, and it probably looks like absolutely nothing on camera, but it feels very, very tippy, like very tippy. Pretty sure the Sprinter van would tip over right here. We finally got out to this amazing campsite on the peninsula of this little reservoir here. And if I take a look around me, not a single other person at this entire place. Not to mention, the van is looking pretty dang cool. That being said, guys, I don't have time today to fish, so I'm pretty much just gonna wrap the video up here. Really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I thought it was fun to film. I'm really looking forward to converting this thing on the channel here and doing more off-road trips just like this. If you guys did like this video, please press the like button below. If you want to see this conversion on the channel, press the subscribe button below, and see you guys next time. Oh my God, that's a little scary. I feel like that one might not feel good if we slapped back down on it.